Before we get started, I wanted to thank my Patreon supporters over on my Patreon page. Starting at $1 a month, you can get early access to some pictures of what I'm working on, as well as my Discord server where you can get a more direct line to me. So, if you'd like to help the channel out, as well as see what may be coming up in new videos, links down below. What's good, everybody? Valley here once again. Welcome back to the Messy Workbench, and this time we're taking a look at the CEDA Model S. This product was provided to me kindly by Evike.com, affiliate link down below. If you use that link to purchase anything on the site, it gives me a little kickback to help support the channel if you don't feel like supporting me on Patreon, or just, if you'd like to get some airsoft style accessories that still work for Nerf, because, optics and buttstocks and stuff are fairly universal, especially if they've got mil-spec stuff. So, again, links down below to where you can support the channel with that affiliate link, and let's get right into it. But yes, this is the upgraded version of the CEDA that is exclusive to Evike.com. It is basically the same blaster, but it comes stock with a alpha kit, which is the sort of half-dart pusher only version. The original version of the CEDA came with the Omni pusher, which was a not so great sort of breech system. It was made so you can still fire full and half lengths, but it did not have much of a seal at all on the barrel to pusher, which led to inconsistency and lack of firing generally. But yes, this thing is quite nice. It comes with the zero muzzle installed on a threaded barrel in here. I will show you that in a little bit. Up on the front, you've got your pump, which is the same one that was on the original CEDA, which, since that is the case, is not the greatest. It seems like the bottom of this pump was designed backwards. Like, this seems like it would be a hand stop, but yeah, since, especially if you've got a stronger spring, your hand's gonna want to slip off here real easy, and having these up here isn't the most ergonomic. It'd be better if they were a little farther down. I'm always finding myself hooking one or two fingers on the front to pull back with. But other than that, you can buy aftermarket pumps and everything that have Picatinny on them, or just hand stops. And Jet even has their own official 3D printable pump that looks similar to this, but it has a sort of a hook hand stop to it. So if you have a 3D printer, that is a good option. Now, if you notice here on the pump rails, there is no sort of white dust or anything. And that was a big issue with the original model CEDA, is with the fact that the glossy plastic, which was apparently lower quality and stuff, would rub every time you'd fire. And that would just grind away at the plastic, and it was very unsettling and led to some issues with strength. But it seems they've fixed that alongside the fact that they have made the plastic a matte finish, which I think looks a whole lot more premium than that gloss. The gloss on the solid color plastic just sort of cheapens it a little bit in a way, if you understand what I mean. But yeah, like, they managed to fix that issue, which is quite nice. The bars on this are, I assume, anodized black, which on the original CEDA, it was just standard sort of raw-ish aluminum. It might have been bead blasted if I remember correctly. I don't remember, because I haven't had an original CEDA in ages. I only ever had the contact with the one that I had painted up for a friend. But that is besides the point. Moving back to the back, you've got the lower receiver with the Katana magwell. The one that comes with the CEDA Model S is a smoke gray variant, but it is not any different than an original Katana. It's just, different colored plastic. This is my original one from back when it launched originally. I still have held on to at least one. But yeah, cross-compatible and all that. So, it's just another adapter, which is kind of handy if you have multiple blasters that you like using Katana mags with, which, at least the fact that Evike is selling these now means that you'll be able to get them more easily, which in the past there have been issues with distribution from Jet and everything, but it seems that they are starting to figure out their distribution side of things and that. Up on the top, this is a accessory that was not included with the CEDA originally. This was thrown in the box by Evike for the sort of influence package, along with the stock here, as well as a hat with some patches and a t-shirt and some can targets you will see here in a little bit. But yeah, it's just a standard red dot sight with a nice rubber cover. Takes a CR2032 battery and has these covers where you can keep the sight picture locked in. And on the back is a mil-spec buffer tube stock. This is, again, not the original one that came with the blaster. This is a battery stock that's meant for an AEG, I believe. This is the original stock that comes with the CEDA. Now, it's the same one that came with it originally. It's a little bit wobbly in a way. Yeah, okay. At this closer position, it is a little bit better, but once you start getting farther away, it does start to lose its stability. So if you're a tall person, it might be a little bit iffy for you. But, you know, if you're shorter, it's not too much of an issue, or if you just like your stock kind of close. There are 3D printable options to help improve the strength of this, like a stock lock, which basically is a small piece that slides in here and then slides under here to keep this thing from getting pushed down, so it'll lock in more solidly, as well as an official jet cheek rest, which I'll probably do a video on later, because I think that might be handy and a good way to improve the original stock. No rubber or anything, it's just the sort of skeletonized area on the pad, which it wouldn't be too hard to make a CPU butt plate for it, but I'm gonna stick with this one because it is quite comfy. So, and there is space in here for, well, originally it was meant for batteries, but you could store tools in there, O-ring, well, not O-rings because there's a hole in the back here, but you know, there's areas for you to store things, which is quite nice, and it is quite solid. So it is mil-spec and it has a QD sling attachment point. So if you have a QD point on your sling already, it'll just attach right there, and there you go. You've got a sling point at the very back, which I don't like as much. I prefer something a little bit closer, you know, closer to the grip, which is quite nice. They have this sling loop right here on the blaster already, so you can just hook like a carabiner or something through it, and that is quite nice. On the grip, it is a separate piece, which is intended to be removable and everything, so you could sort of have your own sort of, say, a 3D printed one that is a little more sort of contoured to your hand. It's fine. Like, I'd prefer a little bit more sort of shaping for the fingers, you know, like some sort of grooves and everything, but it's fine. It's decently big. It wouldn't be alienating to a smaller hand or a big hand, since it's meant for more of a hobbyist. And then above that, you got your trigger lock. It's just a crossbar sort of trigger lock, and that keeps it from firing and all that. So they recommend to have the trigger locked and not primed whenever you go to sort of disassemble the blaster, swap anything out. I'll show you that in a minute. And yes, I will get this loaded up with the included with the package jet darts, which are just, people have been saying they are, like, some of them look a bit similar to PAC-D heads, which are more of a dome rather than sort of a bullet tip. Most of these are more of a bullet tip, and I'll load up the included smoke gray katana mag and get some FPS footage for you guys. And the nice thing about katanas is it is very easy to push in darts from the top. So unlike the talons, which, you know, you have to have them pushed down a little bit for them to get past those lips. But yeah, there you go. And if you can see in there, got it all loaded up and chambered. Now let's get this thing fired through the chronograph here. I've got my, you know, standard sort of airsoft chronograph. 134, 133, 123, 127, 128, 110, 128, 115, 124, and 131. They claim that the Alpha Kick can hit 150 FPS stock, but still, since it's hitting that sort of 130-ish cap, like had a max of 134. Here I'll have on the second camera, very, very fancy. But yeah, you can kind of see that. Getting the average, the max of 134, average of 125, minimum of 110. But yeah. Still not bad considering, and it is easy enough to update and upgrade using separate parts that you can get from several other manufacturers. But yeah, that is quite decent with the included jet darts. Now, let's talk about these darts. A lot of clubs that I know of don't really allow nipple tip style darts, because main reason is, even though they are soft, the smaller point of contact initially makes them sting more. Now, that could be a good or bad thing, because if they'll feel it more, they'll know they've been hit. So it's good for if you've got people that don't like calling their tags. So that is a possibility. But out of this blaster, they are quite accurate with that zero barrel. It's just perfectly tuned in, I feel. And you can get these darts, I believe it's $10 for 100, so it's not terrible. It's 10 cents a dart roughly, so. And if you're going to pick up a CEDA or CEDA S, you can get the CEDA S for about $89, and the original is $69, so you might as well spend the extra 20 bucks or so just to get the Alpha RT kit built into the blaster. But yeah, it's a pretty decent dart quality. I've had a few heads blow off on these things, but nothing a little bit of re-gluing can't fix, as long as you find the head, and then you could always re-glue the heads onto whatever foam you like. So if the environment you're in tends to like one color foam or whatever over the other, then you can, make your darts better and perform better. Now, we're gonna take this thing outside, and I'm going to show you a firing demo of this thing, because it is quite fun to play with. All right, got this thing here. I've got it loaded up with the katana mag that came with it, the smoke one, with the jet darts, 15 of them. To test accuracy, initially I'm about a fair distance away. Say roughly 30, 40 feet. Uh-oh, there goes one of the targets. That doesn't count for accuracy. But anyway, kind back. I'd say if I can hit these small can-shaped targets from this distance, I'd say it's pretty accurate with the zero barrel in there. Hey, got one. Hey, hey! Uh-oh, there goes the head off one of them. That was an issue. It is a little bit windy out here, so accuracy is knocked down a little bit. Oh, there goes the head off another one. Yeah, the glue doesn't seem to be the greatest. I would definitely say if you are looking to use these competitively, come on. There you go. I think I might have gotten that one on a bounce back though. Okay, I'm out of the katana mag, so I'm going to pull out the adapter fully, around, and just to prove that cross compatibility is a thing. Here's the worker Talon adapter, the original one, not like the more forward-facing one that's meant for flywheelers. Oh, and there it goes. But just to prove, I'll try to hit the brick a little bit. Whoa. To the left. Yeah. There we go. But yeah, this thing is decently accurate. If it weren't for the wind and everything knocking off my accuracy, I also need to zero in this sight a little bit better. I kind of just roughly did it indoors, so I'm gonna have to put this thing into an actual vise and properly sort of get a better sort of zeroing in, which it's easy to do. You just unscrew these caps and tweak it with a flathead screwdriver. But yeah, this is a decent optic, and the fact that it comes with a riser is quite nice as well. So yeah. All right, back inside, and I'm going to take this thing apart, because that is quite fun to do, especially if you're going to be swapping out the springs. First thing I'm going to do is loosen these thumb screws, which they seem to have fixed that grinding issue with the thumb screws as well. I'm just looking down the slot, because you don't need to completely remove them or anything to detach the front from the back, as long as they're not in the bolt sled anymore. You want to pull this lower pin, which is longer. and then the higher pin, which is shorter, which is quite nice. And they have those key rings on there. Now you want to just pull forward, and there you go. You've got your barrel, and the barrel lug and everything, and the lower receiver with the plunger tube and such. Now, first off, older versions of the Alpha RT kit didn't really have this sticker on them saying always lock the trigger for safety and this side up basically, because there is a slight difference on the plunger tube here, where if you have it upside down, it will not seal properly and then you'll lose a lot of power. So that is something to keep in mind. Just remember to keep this sticker up, and that is all good. Pull that off there. Don't really pull your mag like that, can't stress the lips and everything. But yeah, you just have the breech here, which is sort of a teardrop shape. And then to undo this, you just spread those bits of shell apart, and there you got your plunger. Now, if you notice, this thing is very, very long and thin and is fairly well greased. Actually, there's a bit of resistance there. I might have to re-grease that. That might be why I'm losing some power, to be honest. But, you know, you can always fix that with a stronger spring. Now, the one that comes with the Alpha RT kit stock is a 10 kg spring, or at least that's what I've been told. At least according to information on Jet's page. So, you can always buy other springs for this, and hopefully they'll come out with the promised 14 kg spring and all that, because that would be very, very nice paired with a longer barrel. But that is quite nice. Let's put the spring back on here and feed it back through the back. Now the catch is not that easy to get to, meaning you have to just unscrew the whole thing and that way, but it's a Delrin plunger catch, so it is unlikely to break under decent spring loads, so there is that. And you can also nest retaliator springs over the original. Let me just grab a spring just to test this theory. At least that's what I've been told, is that you can sleeve them over and it'll work really well for nesting. But yeah, since these springs are opposite wound, you can fit another retaliator spring, which is a standard size one, which this whole thing is based on the retaliator platform. They are opposite coils, so you'll be able to nest them together. And I'm going to stick this in here now just to see how well it works, because I am very curious. To feed this in, make sure it's in those loops, and then you just simply press back and it'll just clip into the shell, and there you go. Now, same with the bolt. You just want to feed them into those little rails right there, and there you go. You got your lower all done, and that's an easy spring swap, which is quite handy for in the field and such. I'm gonna put the buffer tube back on. Gotta get a lead up on it because there is a bit of a lip right here. It's a little bit tall, so at least your stocks won't fall off if you're pulling on them quickly. And there you go, locked back into place. I like this stock a lot. Now moving to the barrel. Also included with the optic was a riser, so that is always handy. That's besides the point. Here is your barrel right here. Showing the side camera right here. And there's a little tab. What you want to do is you want to pull down on that tab, and then push on the barrel with your finger or something. And there you go. There is your barrel. And it is threaded, meaning you can easily swap them out for a longer length if you'd like. And a nice little addition, which I haven't seen with other Alpha kits, is there's an O-ring at the base of the threads of each end of the barrel, meaning that it will seal really well even without Teflon tape. So less need to use gas-rated Teflon tape like Bradley Phillips recommends. And here's the Zero barrel. It is essentially just a standard sort of SCAR type barrel. There you go, you can see the sort of rifling in there. And that contacts the dart a little bit, enough to grip it and put a spin on it. See how it is just contacting it enough, which using a SCAR can reduce your FPS, but what it loses you in FPS, it gains you in accuracy, and sometimes it can even increase your FPS if you have a decently short barrel paired with a strong spring. But that is fun. And you saw in that firing demo that it was quite accurate. But yeah, it just simply threads on like any other accessory. Give it a twist to make sure it's on. And it is really easy to just swap out. And there is a 3D printable option for a bolt and a receiver, well, barrel piece that is built for brass breeches, which is quite fun, especially if you want to get even more power than just using standard aluminum. You just want to insert it back into the barrel, slide in, make sure this tab is on the bottom, and you just want to click it in place. And there you go. And it seats nicely up there. It is about flush with this original orange muzzle right here. And to reassemble, you just want to make sure that the slots are lined up with the grooves. Oop, the slots are lined up with the bumps. Come on. It's kind of hard to do at arm's length. There we go. Now I'm going to move the pump back some so it seats into the bolt sled. Let's move it forward a little bit. Screw it in place. Now, I haven't really seen much white sort of plastic rubbing dust stuff on the shell from these thumb screws yet in the few days I've had to play with this thing. You know, it might show up later, and if it does, I'll probably make an addendum video. But as it is quite good. Uh-oh. My bolt slipped out of place. There we go. Now, with the pins, you just put it back in. Push it in a little bit. There we go. And the front lower pin. There we go. And once they're in, they don't really rattle around too much. And if it really annoyed you enough, you could always get a sort of clevis pin that has a flat end and then just push it from the other side. That is always an option, so yeah. Oh. And there we go. That, oop, my bolt sled's misaligned. Be back in a moment. Okay, I've got it back in place. Now, that whole time, I had it primed back, but I had the trigger lock in just for safety, which is a necessary thing. As it slid back together. What's catching? There we go. Ooh, that could have been bad. Oh well. That is the upside of being able to field strip it like this. Now, I've had my gripes with the original CEDA, but this seems to have fixed most of them. Hopefully this is Jet sort of trying to clean up their image in the eyes of the hobby, because a lot of people do not have the highest opinion of Jet for various reasons that I will not get into in this video. But let's fire up that chronograph again, since this thing is primed. And we will fire with that extra 10 kg spring in there, because I am very curious at what kind of FPS I'm getting now with that extra spring. It definitely needs a longer barrel for this, but... Oh, trigger lock's caught. 168. And that is not too much more hard to prime, to be honest. Let's put a couple more darts through this, because it seems to be quite promising. 172. 167. Okay, that bumped up to the sort of 160s, 170s. So that is quite nice. I might have to keep that in there now, because that's a turf retaliator spring, 10 kg. So that is always a good option, especially if you like doubling up your spring and get more power. But yeah. My general opinion on this is quite good. Do I recommend it over the Dart Zone Pro? Especially considering the Mark 1.1 is out. That's really up to you, because the CEDA S cannot do full-length darts anymore. Here's my original one, which the Dart Zone Pro Mark 1 and Mark 1.1 is coming out soon. is a bit of a different beast considering the fact that the breech system moves back far enough to actually allow for full links. That being said, you can't deep prime it, you always have to dry fire it, but it is well padded to sort of protect against that. Personally, the grip on the Mark 1 and 1.1 is much nicer to my hands at least. You might like this grip better than the grip on the Mark 1. But besides that, it's actually not too terrible, like, especially considering it is almost pretty much half of what I paid for the Mark 1. And the Mark 1.1, being $150, is still about twice the price of this thing. So, if you want a sort of out-of-the-box, hobby-grade blaster, I'd say this is pretty good, especially if you don't want to pony up the extra bits for the quality and extra out-of-the-box power of the Mark 1. The main issue with the Mark 1 is the fact that you can't use worker darts that well with it because of the whole separating breech thing, and the barrel is actually separate and there's a bit of air loss right there. So there is that. With the plastic barrel, it's not much of an issue, but you know, if you have the metal barrel in, it's something to be concerned about. But as ever, I will have links down below and in the pinned comment, you know, for the Mark 1 here, as well as the affiliate link for Evike if you want to just kind of order anything in general. The CEDA Mark S, again, doesn't come with the optic or the extra stock, but those are fairly cheap options to add. And if you use that link, it gives me a little bit of a kickback and lets them know that I am someone worth sort of sponsoring-ish and sending products to for review. Oh, also, links down to my Patreon down below if you want to help support the channel for at least $1 a month. You get links down below as well, and that'll give you access to my Discord server. So yeah, all in all, I think it's a pretty good deal for us both. And as ever, my name is Valor. Thanks for watching.